Hello, my name is Lisa Jimenez, and I'm the founder of the She Is Me conference. Today we have a special event. It's called Rise Up Stories of Survival. And the 8 women who have joined us today are here to tell their stories of how they not only survived, but are thriving like a phoenix rising from the ashes in every single case. And we're doing this in order to allow ourselves to heal, share our stories to inspire you, to educate you, and to lift you up. I want to let you know that if you are in a domestic violence situation right now, please be safe, be careful. When you can, please reach out to the hotline or to one of us in this conference, and we will find a way to help you. That being said, I want to tell you a little bit about my story and do my presentation of Love Bombs Are Lies and Crumbs Cannot Sustain You. This is, these are things that I've learned being 15 years free from my domestic violence situation. I grew up in a household full of addiction, alcoholism, and violence. And the saying, jumping from the frying pan into the fire is exactly what I did. It was the only thing I knew. So I left that situation and really connected with the first person who acted like my father. Um, and it was exactly what I knew. It was exactly what I knew. It was chaos, it was violence, it was screaming and yelling, it was just drama all the time. And so I married him. Why not, right? 2 days later, he punched me in the face. 2 years later, 7 broken bones later, I was lucky enough to escape. I asked my parents to come to the house when had I had the divorce papers drawn up on my lunch hour. I waited till he went to work, and I had some friends from work come and help me move all of my stuff out into storage. And I waited for him to get home with my parents at the house so that I could tell him I was leaving and that I was getting a divorce. And of course, my father did his usual thing where he was mad because he couldn't do what he wanted and he couldn't go home and sit in front of the TV and smoke and drink. And he was just annoyed that he had to be there. So I let them go home. Well, after that happened, I sustained about an hour and a half of a beating and a rape. And I informed him that I was if he kept hurting me, that I would never let him be and that I would hate him for the rest of my life. And he those words somehow, because he wasn't getting approval, somehow made him slow down and stop enough for me to kick him where it hurts and run out of the house. I spent the next almost year looking over my shoulder because he stalked me and he did everything he could to make my life hell until he found another victim. And as soon as he did, he dropped me. He let me go. He was free. I was free of him. But in during that time period, I was really hiding out and scared every moment of every day. So I moved to another city, got a job, worked night and day, worked 2 jobs actually, and just sort of hid out. And one night, a customer where I worked asked me to meet him for a drink. And I hadn't gone on any dates for a couple of years, and I was really fine with that because I was scared all the time. But he was a customer and I saw him all the time, and I said, sure, why not? So I went to a local hangout place, and I lived in a really fun college town at the time. And I walked in, and from the minute I walked in, he put his arm around me and said, she's with me, this is my girl kind of thing. And I was like, wow, somebody loves me again. I'm used goods, and I never thought I would be loved again. And here is this knight in shining armor that's just taken me and, made me his. And from that moment on, and for the next 17 years, I never took a breath. I was initially wrapped up in love and attention and affection, and almost immediately was told that he loved me, that he wanted to marry me, how many kids we were going to have, and so on and so forth. So I took that ride, and I remember a couple of months into it, we went to meet my friends. I finally, everyone, all of my friends kept saying, the friends that I just made over the past year or so in this new town, when are we going to meet this guy? He sounds so great. When are we going to meet him? And I said, oh, well, let me arrange it. So we went to a restaurant that my boyfriend was working at the time, because I figured he'd be really comfortable there. And of course, here I am, very codependent and arranging it so that he's comfortable. And we get there, and he doesn't shake hands with anyone. He doesn't say hello to anyone. He doesn't introduce himself. He sits there with a cup of tea and drank his tea and never spoke to anyone for the 1.5 to 2 hours we sat there. And all the while, I'm sitting there with my friends, and eventually they just pretended like he wasn't there, and we all had a good time, but he didn't say anything, and he just pouted the whole time and gave me these looks like he was going to kill me, just these looks. And so we left, and we drove back to his house because I'd left my car there, and I was mad. And I said, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm done here tonight. I'm going to go home. And I cannot believe that you didn't say one word to my friends. And he just looked at me and he said, if you leave right now, I will never speak to you again. And that was the exact moment that I gave my power away. And it seemed like all this stuff was swirling through my head for years, but it was really a matter of seconds. And I set my purse down and I sat down, and I knew, looking back, I know that that's when I became his prisoner. And that's when I gave away every ounce of power that I had up until that point. Now, granted, for the 2 years that I was single, I never did any work. I didn't take any classes. I didn't go to counseling. I didn't do any of that. I was just trying to breathe. I was trying to live my life one day at a time, just to get through it. After all that I'd been through, just, I just wanted to walk down the street without looking over my shoulder. So here I am back in this situation, and the next thing you know, it's only been a very short time, and I'm meeting his parents, and I'm moving in with him, and um, it's one thing after another, and these grand gestures, and grand gestures on one side, but then blame and accusations and everything else on the other side, and it went on like this, and then year after year after year, it escalated to public embarrassment. It escalated to withholding attention. It escalated to punishment. Like, we owned our own business, and so if he wasn't happy with how I was behaving, then I had to come on the weekends and clean the men's bathroom, right? That was my, and if it wasn't clean, then he would come and tell me the toilets needed to be cleaned again or something. And I had to. I had to. I was scared to death of what was going to happen. And then after that, out through the years, then the violence started. It was small, it was a push or a shove or stepping on my feet or something, little things to remind me that I was out of line. And it escalated to the point where he attempted to murder me. And I finally escaped of about a hour and a half of torture. I escaped and with my daughter in tow, broken, bleeding, the police came, they took him away. And it wasn't for, I don't know, a couple of months before, I had to sell my house. I had all this stuff, very long story, but it wasn't for a while actually until I started doing some work and I started learning and I started unlearning all of these ineffective behaviors that I had been taught over and practiced over the years that I was able to breathe. I mean, really breathe. And to this day, it's been 15 years. And to this day, I wake up every morning and take the deepest breath of my day. And I sit in gratitude that I'm free and that I can breathe and that I live in calm and ease and that I don't have to be afraid anymore. Now, what I want to talk about today are love bombs. Because how do we get sucked in to these relationships? Not every single person who like this is my story, and not every single person who is in a domestic violence situation grew up the way I grew up. Some people grew up in very loving homes. Some people grew up worse than I did. It's every story is different, and that's why we tell our stories at She Is Me. And every story we tell here is not about domestic violence, but this event is because it's important. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and my conversation with you today is about awareness. So, what are love bombs? Love bombs are exaggerated, over the top, very an overabundance of attention, compliments, affection that's inappropriate for the time frame typically. So here are some examples of what love bombs are. And these literally are huge red flags to look out for because these are the things that suck us in to these narcissistic, abusive relationships. So, red flags, gifts, an an inappropriate big gift for the time period. Um, being dating for a few weeks and being given a ring. Being given a trip somewhere that's extravagant. And I'm not saying like, oh, going out for dinner. I'm saying, best restaurant, best wine, best everything um, on the first or second date, instead of maybe just meeting for lunch or getting to know each other a little bit. Um, Jewelry, an iPhone, an expensive computer, something like that. Be careful with electronics like phones and computers because your movement, your calls, your texts, all of those things can be tracked. And that is, even though it looks like he could break your phone and then give you a new phone as a gift just so that he has control over that phone and everything that you do. So just be aware of those kinds of movements. Um, Overabundance of compliments, things like "You're so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I can't I just can't get enough of you. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Um, oh, you make me so hot. Like, oh, everything you do is perfect. Um, just over the top, constant barrage of compliments. Oh, you're so funny. How you're so smart. How did you get so smart? You know, on and on and on. Um, Calls and texts. That's another one. So calling you and texting you all day, every day. Um, Yet, if he's doing something like he's at work or he's with his friends, and typically these kinds of people don't have tons of friends that they go and hang out with and have their own time. But that's not a hard and fast rule. But you know, not listening to you when you say like, "Oh, I have a work meeting from 10 to 2," and wanting to know everything about you, like, "Oh, what does your day look like?" And doing it very nicely. "What does your day look like?" "Well, I've got a meeting from 9 to 12 with the president of the company," and, so from 9 to 12, he's texting you. He's texting you and texting you and texting you and texting you. Um, or going through all of your social media accounts and figuring out who's that person, and asking you about it. If you like or comment on somebody's page, um, you know, knowing about it and grilling you about it right away. Red flags, red flags. Unlimited attention, public displays of affection, attentive, just oh, can't get enough of you all the time when you're together, um, especially in public, and wanting everyone to know right away that you are theirs, their property. They don't say it that way, but you're theirs. So you better change your status on Facebook. You better post pictures of you two together. And this would come at a time when it's you don't even know if you want to spend more time with this person or not. But the more you question it, the more they bombard you. They love bomb you with this stuff just to get you until they can test you and you pass their test by, like I did, putting my purse down and not leaving, even though every single cell in my body wanted to leave and wanted to just be done because I was so humiliated. How could somebody who said they love me so much and want to be with me and want to marry me and love me and all these things not want to talk to my friends? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I stayed. Somebody who says, I love you or marry me or we're soulmates, even after a very short amount of time. Um, gets triggered when you have boundaries, when you say no, or I can't meet you tonight, or um, I really need you to not text me after 10 o'clock because I need to go to bed for work or whatever. And they're texting you, what are you doing? Do you want to come over? And not respecting your boundaries. And then once you push back a little bit, they're angry. Never mind. Talk to you when I talk to you, just kind of attitude. Big red flag. Um, Super needy when you're with them. They want you 100% on them all the time. And say your mom calls and you answer the phone, they're going to pout the whole entire time, just like mine did at that restaurant with my friends, just pouted the whole entire time, um, because I'm paying attention to something else. They want you. They want to hold you captive. They want to have full control over you and everything you do. They're needy. So it looks like they just love you and they just want to be with you and they just they're just so happy to be there, but they're telling you not to pay attention to something or pouting because they're you're paying attention to something else. Um, but they're saying it in a way that you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'll pay attention to you." Just manipulating you in that way. Um, They're super intense. So, at first, all of this love raining down on you, all of this attention and love is intoxicating. You're just like, you're floating. But eventually, you're like, he's calling me again. He's texting me again. Like it's overwhelming, right? And once you feel that way, you start to put a boundary down, and then they're like, okay, fine, do whatever you want. And they give you this guilt trip, which makes you go, oh, now I feel like I'm a terrible person. So, okay, I'll give in. And that's their trick. That's when they're getting you. Things are unbalanced. Like, you get lots and lots of love and attention, or you get no love and attention. Um, and then when you get no love and attention, it's your fault. Okay. Um, Inconsistent. So you have this intoxicating love, or you have to walk on eggshells. Um, and all the time when you are feeling this in your gut, you're feeling this uneasiness. They're gaslighting you. They're saying it's your fault. If you didn't act this way, I wouldn't act this way. If you didn't do this, I wouldn't be pushing back, and maybe you should. And they don't say it this way. They're just like, well, but I love you, and you're making me angry by what you're doing. You're making me angry. And if you didn't make me so angry, we could have a really good time together or whatever. Um, Inconsistent behavior is another way of like giving you all this attention and then withholding it, right? Showering you with love and then nothing. So you never know where you quite stand. You never know. You never feel safe, and you don't know this is happening right away. You're just trying to navigate this relationship. And then they will knock down others with compliments to you. Um, so say your friend cancels a date with you. You were going to go to dinner with your friend, and she said, "Oh, I can't do it now, whatever." He might say, "Wow, you know what? You're so much better than that. Why do you let your friends treat you like that? You're so much better than that. Um, they don't deserve you. You're amazing." And like giving you these compliments to put you up on this pedestal, and the whole time just doing it to drag you down and capture you. So that is sort of how we get reeled in. And then what is it that makes us sort of stay? Well, we get crumbs, right? We used to get the whole loaf. We used to get um we were just showered with love. We couldn't absorb it. We couldn't eat it fast enough. Um and little by little it's withheld, little by little. And then you get a crumb. You get a good day, you get a compliment, you get something that makes you put your guard down a little bit. And when you put your guard down, you somehow make a mistake. Now, it's not reality, it's the reality within the animal that is that domestic violence relationship. So you let your guard down a little bit, and the next thing you know, you're being too loud, or you're you answered the phone and talked to your mother while you're sitting on the couch watching a movie at night, and that's a no-no. But you thought it was okay because he was having a good day. So you answered the phone, and the next thing you know, you're not being talked to, and things just get worse from there. So what happens then is, it's withholding, and then it's anger, and then it escalates. And typically by the time it gets to the point where it escalates into physical violence, you're in it. You're in it. So, um, those crumbs keep us going. Those crumbs give us that little bit of hope that not all is bad. And so it makes us think, because we've been gaslighted for all this time to think that it's our fault, it makes us think that maybe it is my fault. And maybe if I only did that right, if I only did things right, if I only could make him happy. And oh, he's happy today. Yay, I must have done something right. So you're going through your whole day thinking what you did right. And maybe it's just me thinking our relationship is bad. Maybe it's just me just overthinking everything. I need to relax. And so here I had planned this whole escape, and then I have a good day or a good 2 days or a good 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. I get a crumb. I get a crumb, and that crumb pulls me back in. And that crumb says, wow, you're going to leave, everyone's going to hate you because everybody loves him and everyone thinks your marriage is so great, and you just bought a house, and you're the coach of the soccer team, and you guys have everything. From the outside, we had everything. We had $1 million house, we had a boat, I coached soccer, we had our own business, I had a nice high powered job, we had a lovely dog. We had new stuff. We had things. What we didn't have was trust, love, um, safety, security, none of those things. What we had was I was a prisoner, I was being controlled, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. But those crumbs kept me going. And the idea that if I left, I would be a failure again. I would be throwing everything away. I would be disappointing my parents, which I did on a regular basis. Um, in fact, my dad told me when I got into this relationship that I'm in now with my partner, who is loving and supportive and fantastic and wonderful, and I've known him my whole life, that I shouldn't get married because, that doesn't work out too well for me. Just don't do that. It doesn't work out for you. You're not very good at it. So I had all these messages in my head swirling around, like, what am I going to do? But at some point, I realized that none of what was happening was who I truly was. It was who I was pretending to be. You see, I had become a performer. When I was a kid, I was a performer. Everything I did was, I knew that if I could perform in a certain way, then I would get attention, or I wouldn't be yelled at, or I wouldn't get in trouble, or any of those things. So I was a performer. And the few times that I did speak up or have an emotion or show myself, um, it was not accepted. So the performing Lisa was much better. And as long as I was performing, everybody else was happy. But what about me? So eventually I said, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be married. I don't want to be broken. I don't want my kids to be scared. I don't want to be scared. I just want to be done. Boy, it was a big finale, a big grand finale. Um, but I survived, and now I thrive. And um, and wanted to share my story here today, or part of my story. I think you get the idea. but I wanted to make sure that in creating this platform and creating this message, uh, and my mission in life in helping every single woman find their power and and stand strong in themselves with no excuses and no apologies, use their voice and be free and breathe without looking over their shoulder. I wanted to make sure with this message that I was reaching every woman out there who watches this, whether you are being loved bombed at the moment, that you could recognize what that looks like. If you're in a relationship, know that you can get out and there is help available. And if you are out, but you're standing in scattered energy, not knowing who you really are, what you really like, or what even makes you happy because you've been performing for so long, that there are ways and places and people who can help. If you have any questions, you can find me at creativelifehappysoul.com, which is my business where it's all event based and we have amazing transformational retreats and workshops for women who have been through this or not. If you just want to find your happy place, come and take one of our events, one of our workshops or retreats. Come on one of our retreats. It's so much fun. 4 days, bunch of women, and you come out of there with lifelong friends, and you just have an amazing time. You can find me at Lisa Jo at sheismeconference.com. If I can't help you, I can help you find someone who can. If you want to be a speaker, if you want to share your story, if you have anything that you'd like to pass along that would educate, inspire, um, or empower women, please contact me, contact us here at the conference, and join one of our events. Like I said, we have 6 or 7 more events for the season, and they are everything from, a coaching expo, a health expo, um, a sex seminar. Um, oh gosh, you're just going to have to look at the event list and check it out. And if there is any other way that you'd like to work with me, please let me know. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining the She Is Me family in any way you can. Sign up for our newsletter so you are made aware of everything that's going on. Please watch all of the other speakers' videos today. It is Purple Thursday, and we are all coming together to tell our stories for the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And don't miss Kristen Perry Speller's amazing performance of Phoenix Rises Up. And with that, I want to say thank you. And I love all of you. You are worthy and you are enough, and you do deserve to live a life in freedom and joy. Goodbye.